the last 3 days, the city of Hamburg has played host to the newest tournament on the international snooker circuit, the World Mixed Doubles Championship. Tonight, it's the final between, on one hand, the partnership of Steve Davis and Allison Fisher, and opposing them, Stacey Hillyard and Stephen Hendry. We're once again in Green's Leisure Centre on the eastern side of the city. Snooker really is growing in popularity here in Germany, with clubs like this one springing up throughout the country. This week, Green's has been the envy of them all, having looked after the 4 leading players from the men's game and their counterparts from the women's game. And the players have left their mark in more ways than one. This mural has been autographed by all 8 players. Tonight, it's the final over the best of 9 frames, and you'll see it all here on Screen Sport live. As usual, a full house here at Green's, looking forward to what promises to be an exciting final in the World Mixed Doubles Championship. But before we get into the preliminaries, let's just remind ourselves of how the 2 pairings reached this final. In the first semi-final, which you might have seen 2 nights ago, Stacey Hillyard and Stephen Hendry beat Karen Kaur and Jimmy White 5 frames to 1. The first frame went to Kaur and White. It was plain sailing for Hillyard and Hendry thereafter. And history repeated itself last night as Allison Fisher and Steve Davis dropped the first frame against Anne-Marie Farron and John Parrott, and then went on to take the next 5 to book their place in today's final. So that's how the final lines up. Davis and Fisher against Hillyard and Hendry. They're playing for money, of course. They're also playing for this rather nice pot. Let's go over and join our MC, Gerhard Muller.
Ich darf Sie zum Finale der World Mixed Doubles 1991 im Greens Hamburg recht herzlich willkommen heißen. Diese Veranstaltung steht unter der Schirmherrschaft des Innensenators der Freien und Handelsstadt Hamburg. For today, total prize money £30,000. The winners tonight will walk off with the lion's share of that, £15,000 that they'll split between them. The runners-up today will collect £9,000. Again, that will be divided between the 2 of them. And the beaten semi-finalists will each get to share £3,000. Total prize money £30,000. As Gerhard Muller is confirming here, this final being seen live throughout Europe here on the European Sports Network. That's the trophy that they'll be playing for. Barry Hearn had a bit of trouble getting that one through customs. They were very interested in having a look at that. But Barry managed to talk his way through without any trouble. Here's the referee for the 3rd day running, Alan Chamberlain, in charge of affairs. Nun kommen wir zu den Mannschaften. Ich sagte es schon, die absolute
Now
Weltspitze ist
for
am Start.
the introduction of the players.
Ladies first. Möchte ich zu uns ins Greens bitten. Die Weltmeisterin 1984. Die erste der Weltrangliste. Stacey Hillyard.
And here comes Stacey Hillyard, the former world women's champion. Won the championship when she was 14 years old, now 22 of course. From Christchurch in Dorset, and Stacey just getting guided over to her rightful seat. Stacey played very well in the semi-final 2 nights ago, and we'll be looking for a repeat performance. And here comes the world men's #1, also 22, Stephen Hendry, but already at 22 he seems to be a veteran of the world professional snooker circuit. So Hendry and Hillyard, I think they're looking a little surprised to find themselves on that side of the table. Well, I don't think it'll make too much difference. And as we look at the trail of the tape on Hendry and Hillyard, Allison Fisher comes into an excellent reception. Allison, of course, the world #1 women's player. You may have seen her winning the world title once again last month here on Screen Sport. And Allison was in excellent form last night.
Mr. Snooker, der 6-fache Weltmeister.
And here comes Mr. Snooker, the man who doesn't need an introduction, Steve Davis. Steve, quite often the junior partner of this team last night, as Allison dominated 2 or 3 of those frames in that 5-1 victory. Best of 9 frames this final. Allison Fisher and Steve Davis against Stacey Hillyard and Stephen Hendry. Well, I'm joined once again as we look at the tail of the tape on Davis and Fisher. I'm joined once again by Phil Yates. And Phil, I know you think that this partnership is going to win tonight.
Yes, Steve Davis and Allison Fisher have got a very good record indeed in mixed doubles. They won the title at the World Masters Championship in Birmingham in January, and they're a very formidable partnership. Quite interesting, actually, to see Stephen Hendry at the start of the match there, wondering which seat he was in. Being the top seed in the men's game, he's usually used to sitting on the left-hand side of the table, and he couldn't quite work out why he'd been stationed there. Anyway, Davis breaks off. I'm sure the relative position of the players won't have any effect on this game. Well, the first mistake comes from Hillyard.
Stacey made a slow start in the semi-final, but recovered well and was certainly right on form by the middle frames of that semi-final, and interesting to see that she's made a slightly wobbly start as well here in this final, allowing Allison Fisher to take that first red.
1.
Hillyard made breaks of 34 and 42 at very vital stages of the semi-final, and so Fisher also made a very good contribution to her team's success in their semi-final. She made a 27 clearance in the third frame and a 64 break in the third, so she played very well indeed.
5.
In doubles, more so than individual play, it's very important to get an early chance at the table to get your arm going and get your confidence. Very easy at this form of snooker to be frozen out.
No problems there with the extended cue for Allison Fisher. And she should be able to follow up with this black as well.
6.
The cue extension, in fact, is one of the innovations which has made the game easier over the last few years. Up until around the early 1980s, the long rest was used for those kind of shots, and it was a very unwieldy element. Very crisp start from Fisher, 13 points already on the board. Fisher told me last night that she's now beginning to relish the prospect of appearing before the cameras. Before the last couple of years, the women's game has been largely played in clubs for very small first prizes and with very little media exposure, but that's certainly changed in the last 2 years.
There's Allison Fisher. She's got into the ribs there. That's a nice shot. Although she may have trouble picking one of them up. Didn't quite get the cue ball where she wanted it. Allison Fisher stands to make best part of £20,000 in 5 weeks if she wins here.
That's right, she won £12,000 for winning the World Championship in November. That was at the Hyde Park Hotel in London, where she beat Karen Kaur 8-2 in the final.
Davis and Fisher, 6-6.
So 16 points on the board, and immediately she's got Stephen Hendry in a lot of trouble.
Yes, as we've seen both the semi-finals, really the key for both the women as much as anything is to make sure they don't leave the men with an easy opportunity to rack up the points, and Allison Fisher leaving Stephen Hendry with absolutely nothing there.
The standard of safety play, in fact, in last night's game was very high indeed from all four players.
Well, Steve Davis may have lost a little bit over the years. He's still an outstanding player, let's not forget that, but his safety work remains as good as anyone's in the game.
Well, Steve, of course, has got a truly unparalleled record in snooker. 57 major titles to his credit. Not a ranking event since October 1989, however, and I'm sure that's a source of considerable worry to him. fortune favours Hillyard there. Flukes are red. I'm sure she'll play the snooker behind the brown.
Hendry and Hillyard, 1.
So problems here for Allison Fisher. Not only is she snookered behind the brown, but with Stephen Hendry coming up next, she's got to make sure not only does she get out of the snooker, she's got to get that cue ball out of there as well.
The problem when you're snookered at this level isn't actually hitting the reds. There's quite a big margin of error there for Allison Fisher. The problem is leaving the reds safe and therefore stopping your opponent scoring after you.
Foul and a miss.
Alan Chamberlain calls a miss.
Hendry and Hillyard.
It's virtually certain that Hillyard and Hendry will elect to put Allison Fisher behind the brown again, unless of course Hendry has a pot on. Hendry was tempted for a brief moment there by the prospect of a red into the centre pocket, but he realises that replacing the white will be more profitable. Well, if the first was called a miss, so should this one be.
The miss, 4.
And that really does
Hendry
put a bit of pressure on Allison Fisher. I think Hendry has said you can have that one again, and if Allison Fisher is credited with a miss here, then technically she could lose the frame for her side.
Well, she's actually in a snooker, so there's no actual problem for Fisher. She's okay not to hit the reds. But this certainly proves that the age of chivalry in snooker is dead. Well, third time lucky for Fisher. But although she hit the reds, she left Hendry a red into the middle, and now he's well positioned to make a sizable contribution in this first frame. Cleverly clears the red from the black spot.
8.
Gaining an angle on the black. He's got a very wide range of options. Can take the cue ball into the pack if he so wishes. There we have the first view of the worm's eye view camera.
17.
Picture of concentration, Hendry. One of the Scots' great abilities, of course, is to milk every single possible advantage from a break-building situation like this. He's been a professional for 6 years and has made over 130 competitive centuries. Davis, a professional for 13 years, has made somewhere in the region of 150, so you can gauge from that how good a break builder Hendry is.
Well, it's early days in this break, of course, but I'm tempted to point out that we've yet to see a century break in this tournament, so one long overdue.
Hendry slightly unlucky there, rolled through for the black, but has left himself with slightly awkward cueing over this red. By no means easy, this shot. Played very well indeed.
40.
So the break reaches 41. The lead, 34. quite interesting, this match. In fact, a special rivalry exists between all four players. Hendry regards Davis as his greatest rival in the men's game, and Fisher regards Hillyard as her greatest rival in the female game. So, four-way dynamic in this one.
But of course, that rivalry really only counts on the table, certainly as far as Fisher and Hillyard are concerned. They've been hanging around together here in Hamburg, and there's certainly no question of any rivalry when they're off duty.
Well, in the very rare occasions when they actually compete in ladies' doubles events, Hillyard and Fisher team up together, so they're quite close friends. This blue would secure the first frame for the Hendry-Hillyard partnership.
62.
Century break looks a very distinct possibility here. Perhaps the only problem is the red nearest the pink. That just shows the clearly the way that Hendry is thinking, potting the pink into the centre and just nudging the red across slightly to make it potable into the top left-hand pocket.
And already thinking 3 shots ahead as well. You saw him just checking out the yellow, which is just dropped there by the green. The green perhaps stopping the yellow from going into its normal pocket.
Again, looking at the relative position of the ball colours. He's taken 3 looks at this, so it must be very close indeed. The break stops at 84, but that's the highest of the tournament so far. And Hendry and Hillyard take a 1-frame-to-0 lead.
So, Stephen Hendry and Stacey Hillyard look like they've wrapped it up, even though Steve Davis, well, he hasn't potted the ball before that yellow decides that even though the frame has gone, he's going to get some practice in, and that's smart tactics from Davis.
Very much so. In doubles, sometimes you're kept away from the table for a very long time indeed, and every possible opportunity he has to score some points, I'm sure he'll take them. That wasn't a very long visit though, just 1 pot on the yellow. And he's now given Hillyard the chance to possibly pot some balls and get a cue arm going as well. Again, we see the use of the extension. In goes the green, oddly ideal position on the brown over. Fine pot from Hillyard on the brown.
7.
That takes their total into 3 figures. But the blue goes astray.
Hendry and Hillyard 7 and the first frame.
And the frame conceded by Davis and Fisher. A very convincing first frame there, particularly from Stephen Hendry, with a tournament high break of 84. But it's not necessarily the end of the match by any means. The last two teams that won the first frame went on to lose. So I wonder what that'll happen to this partnership. Join us again in just a moment.
Harold Graham is Sheffield's most stylish star. The British middleweight champion, a man whose silky skills made him respected throughout the world. Graham defends his British title in his hometown against the underdog John Ashton. The experts reckon Graham will literally run rings round him, but Ashton reckons the time's right for an upset. Graham versus Ashton for the British middleweight title in Pro Box. Live, Tuesday night at 9 on Screen Sport.
It began in March in Phoenix, Arizona. It finished in November in Adelaide, South Australia. The Formula One World Championship. For Ayrton Senna, it began with a win. For everybody, it finished in the wet. It was a season packed with drama, disappointment, controversy and triumph. Inside Track followed the Formula One season through to the final checkered flag and takes a look back. Tonight at 9, here on Screen Sport.
So Ayrton Senna finally secures the World Championship.
There's nobody better than Muslim when you...
The Twins are going to win the World Series! Well, whether you like it or whether you hate it. Argentina won the game and won the cup. Oh, but it's Chris Akabuzi, European champions ever result. Japanese car at Le Mans. Champion Ian Baker Finch, Australia.
A chance to relive the best sporting moments of 1991. Coming soon to Screen Sport.
You are about to listen to the ultimate sound experience. Please be ready to order by phone. Synthesizer. The ultimate sound experience is a special collection of contemporary themes from Oxygen to the eve of the war and beyond. Available on 4 albums, 4 cassettes or 4 compact discs. Digitally recorded music as it was meant to be heard. Including Chariots of Fire, the international hit Sadness. And Lily Was Here. Experience over 4 hours of brilliant synthesizer hits. This electrifying synthesizer collection is not available in any store and can only be ordered by phoning one of the following numbers now. Synthesizer. The ultimate sound experience comes with a full money-back guarantee. And please allow 21 days for delivery.
So the early favourites to win this trophy must be the partnership of Hendry and Hillyard after that emphatic first frame. 100 to 18 their victory. Stephen Hendry with a break of 84. And here's his partner, Stacey Hillyard, to break in the second frame. But it really was interesting how in both semi-finals one team started very fast and, well, we saw Anne-Marie Farron do that yesterday and a few more embarrassing moments for a professional snooker player. But it's happened to the best of them, hasn't it, Phil?
Yes, in fact, Hillyard did it in the semi-final. Very easy to do, in fact, going off the break. They play the professional way is to break off with a lot of right-hand side off the third red, and sometimes it can go a little bit astray as that and there. But Fisher takes her life into her hands by going for that long red, and immediately Hendry back to the table with a chance to add to his 84 break in the first frame.
Well, I bet Stephen Hendry can hardly believe his luck, his first visit to the table, and the possibility of quite a substantial score here.
When Hendry gets in the groove, he's the most formidable break builder in the game. That 84 break in the first frame showed that he's certainly got his eye in tonight. Cleverly played shot there from Hendry, using the rest slightly cramped up, and yet he's still got the black into the pocket and position on this red into the middle. Surprising miss after the first frame when he made an 84 break. He makes only 16 there. And immediately Steve Davis has got the chance to possibly recover the situation.
Well, you have to feel some sympathy for Steve Davis. He's hardly had a shot in this match so far, and it did show there he's a little bit cold.
Doubles can be a very frustrating format for the man, or woman in this case, who's kept out the most, and Steve just potted 1 yellow in that first frame, so he's still sort of feeling his feet, trying to get the pace of the table and trying to work out what went wrong there. Hillyard taking on the more difficult of these two reds into the centre.
Foul.
And again in off.
Davis and Fisher. 4.
Not Stacey's night so far. 2 trips to the table, 2 shots, and twice the white ball has gone into the pocket.
The last time that Hillyard went in off the break, Fisher took on a long red, a risky long red, and left Stephen in with a good chance, Stephen Hendry. Now she's electing to play safe. And a good safety shot at that. Cue ball, as you can see, tight on the ball cushion. Hendry, though, going for this thin cut on a red into the top pocket. Played with an element of safety in mind. He knew that should he miss, the cue ball would return to the balk area of the table. Steve quite fortunate there, went for the long red and hasn't left Stacey Hillyard a clear-cut opportunity to score any points. Steve Davis and Stephen Hendry, of course, have had some epic battles in the past. Hillyard attempts the red into the middle. It catches the far jaw. No damage done, however.
Allison elects to play safe with Hendry coming up.
That's probably the most prudent course of action, Nick. Hendry has already shown tonight that he's in pretty good form, an 84 break in the first frame. He's the kind of player who could rattle off 3 or 4 frames on his own in very little time. The last time Hendry met Davis was in this year's Rothmans Grand Prix final at Reading in October when he beat Davis 10-6. Is this a fluke? Oh. Almost fluked the red into the centre. Three or 4 times in this frame, all players have gone for a long red and left the balls relatively safe, and that's certainly been the case this time. Steve left with no option but to screw the white ball back into balk.
And so the pressure goes back on Stacey. No real shot on, but Stacey's task obviously to make sure she doesn't leave Allison Fisher with anything to shoot at. It's Fisher up next, of course.
Stacey Hillyard, of course, is very used to playing the big-name men players. This year she turned professional and qualified for the competition proper of the Dubai Duty Free Classic In the first round, she drew Mr. Alex Higgins.
A mistake there from Stacey. The white ball very near the black, but the possibility here for Allison.
Allison's cueing is hampered by the black. She'll need the spider. That's the elevated rest, which makes cueing very difficult. The problem with this rest is that you're hitting down on the cue ball, and sometimes you're in part side spin that you don't intend to put onto the cue ball. Alignment, of course, is very difficult on that shot. And Fisher misses the red into the top pocket, leaving Hendry another good chance.
One.
Very loose positional shot there from Hendry.
Hendry and Hillyard. One.
Has placed Davis in some trouble, putting him in the snooker behind the brown, but I'm sure Stephen would have wanted to make more points from that visit to the table. Steve willing the white on. Woefully short of pace, though. Alan Chamberlain has no compunction but to call a miss.
Stacey wants no part of that, so Steve will have to play it again.
Steve, of course, has no trouble hitting the reds, but he doesn't want to leave one on. Well, the first frame was won in one break, an 84 from Hendry. This frame, there have been a lot more errors. Stacey off two cushions, hoping to try and put the cue ball in behind the yellow. Almost, but not quite. But the safety aspect of the shot achieved, if not the snooker.
Yeah, Stacey will be quite happy with where the cue ball has ended up. Very limited set of options here for Allison Fisher.
Allison, of course, under pressure, well aware that the person following is Stephen Hendry. Fisher, the most well-known of the women players. This year she won the Women's World Championship in November, her fourth title, and she regained a #1 position in the rankings, deposing, coincidentally, Stacey Hillyard. There's Stacey looking on. She held that world #1 spot for 18 months, and then Fisher came back. She won the British Open this year and also the Women's World Championship, so Fisher having a very good season indeed. Allison was in a lot of trouble there. Hardly surprising that the safety error resulted. A very kind kiss on the pink for Hendry. Enables him to hold position on the blue.
And a real opportunity once again for Stephen Hendry to make a substantial contribution to his team's cause here in this second frame. 22-8 they lead, but Hendry really with an opportunity
6
to put this second frame away.
Hendry has virtually monopolised the scoring in this match so far. But in this frame he's had two good early chances and squandered both of them. Made 16 points off the first and just one red off the second.
7.
No problems there, though. Stuns across the table for the brown.
$11. $12.
Nice angle on the black. Possibly will attempt to play position on the red into the middle.
$19. $20.
Hendry will now play the green. In fact, he's playing the brown to prove me wrong. Screw back down the table for the reds. Subtle use of backspin and right-hand side there. There we are in the pocket again, and we see that red surprisingly goes astray from Hendry. They lead 45 points to 8 in this second frame. Steve Davis to the table.
One.
Steve will be glad to get that one under his belt. Really has had a very lean time in the early stages of this final.
And that continues. Terrible black there from Davis.
Hendry and Hillyard 45.
Didn't even hit the jaws of the pocket with that one. Of course, his problems started when he overscrewed the red into the middle.
1.
And of course, as we've said, the problem for Steve is that he's cold, that he's not getting an opportunity to get on the table. And of course, that problem is now being compounded the longer this goes on, isn't it?
That's right. Of course, Steve was known as one of the best starters in the game when he dominated snooker in the mid-1980s. Little problems like being cold didn't alarm him then.
Well, ambitious from Stacey Hillyard, and it fails to go in, and so Allison Fisher up to the table.
Fisher and Davis trail 53 points to 9, and with those two reds on the side cushion, it's going to be quite a task to get back into this frame in one visit. But as we saw in last night's semi-final, when she cleared the colours in the third frame, Fisher can come from behind.
Six.
That nudge onto the red won't have helped her cause.
Fisher made a 133 break in a women's competition in Mansfield earlier on this year. That was in fact a world record at the time. It's since been beaten by Tessa Davidson's 135.
Seven.
But it proves that Fisher is a very good break builder. The best in the ladies' game, in most people's opinion. Got a nice angle to disturb those two reds by the cushion.
$14.
But not the best run of the balls that Allison Fisher could have wished for, as we see Fisher coming up and Steve Davis looking pensive in his seat.
Taking on a difficult red into the middle there. 14. Playing with the nap, always very difficult, those kind of shots. So Hendry and Hillyard 53-23. 30 points with two reds on the side cushion is a very good lead.
And once again, Steve Davis is going to be denied an opportunity to really build up any kind of a break. Unless this red goes in, of course, and that would be quite an achievement, but no, Steve playing for safety.
And plays a bad safety, Nick. In fact, he caught that much too thick.
Steve really out of sorts in this final so far. It's quite the opposite yesterday.
He did make a very auspicious start to yesterday's semi-final, but he certainly finished very strongly. Made a half-century break in the penultimate frame to win that one, and also potted the vital black in the last frame to secure a 5-1 win. That, of course, over John Parrott, the world champion, and Marie Farron. That's a bad miss from Hillyard.
Hendry and Hillyard. Wow.
Not only does she miss the black, but
the
black ricochets down the table and removes the
54.
awkward red from the side cushion, so doubly disastrous for Hillyard. 31 the difference. There's another saving clearance from Fisher, well within her capabilities.
One.
Plays that shot with an enormous amount of backspin to allow herself the angle on the black into the centre. Tricky shot this, not a lot to aim at.
Eight.
This red vital, should she get it, she'll be assured of position on at least one colour. The problem for Fisher is that she needs to stun the white, which means that the butt of the cue has got to be lifted in the air slightly. Again, that transference of spin, which some people don't want, could happen here. No problems though.
9.
Just 22 points behind. And once this pink has gone in, that reduces the deficit once again. 16 points the difference now, and 27 on the table.
And of course, all the colours on their spots after this yellow is potted. The great escape from Fisher is becoming a regular feature of her excursions with Davis in World Mixed Doubles competitions. At the World Masters Mixed Doubles in January, she made a 35 clearance to win the match in the quarter-final there against Jo Johnson and Tessa Davidson. And last night she made a 27 clearance in the third frame of their match against Parrott and Farron. Slightly overran the white there on the blue. Not quite the perfect angle to come down on the pink. She knows she can leave herself a middle range pink, but she would rather have just dropped the blue in and came down the table.
Well, she needs all three of these colours, of course. Blue and pink won't be enough. There goes the blue.
29.
And that reduces the deficit now to just 2 points.
This should be the deciding shot, although she needs the black.
An effortless pot.
35.
It's a difficult long pink, that one, and she made it look very easy indeed.
After a clearance like this, Fisher deserves this black. And there it goes. A fine effort from Allison Fisher. She gets the frame, 65-54. And her partnership, Davis and Fisher, are 1-1 with Stephen Hendry and Stacey Hillyard.
Allison Fisher then to the rescue there in that second frame. There's confirmation of the score, so it's 1 frame all. And we'll be back in just a minute for the start of frame 3.
Screen Sports, Sunday afternoon. At noon, the big rigs are out in force at Donington to contest the 1991 European Truck Festival. That's followed at 1 by a Pro Box special featuring 2 featherweight world title fights. The WBC contest between Marcus Villasana and Paul Hopkinson, and the WBO crown between Tim Driscoll and Maurizio Stecca. At 3, it's time to join the golfers at the Gary Player Country Club in Southern Africa for the final holes in the $1 Million Classic. At 5, we continue our Winter Olympic preview by taking a look at the men's downhill prospects. And half an hour later, we wrap up the British motorsport season with the final edition of Revs for 1991. So, with truck racing at noon, Championship Pro Box at 1, the $1 Million Classic at 3, the Olympics previewed at 5 and Revs at 5:30, that's Sunday afternoon on Screen Sports.
Star Direct invites you to share the greatest love. Be ready to order by phone.
Everywhere I look around.
The greatest classic love songs, the greatest love. The definitive collection of romantic hits, including the Thompson Twins, Eurythmics, Aretha Franklin, Elton John, and Al Green. This brilliant collection will bring back very special memories with the most popular love songs ever written, including Nilsson and Leo Sayer. 64 unforgettable tracks. The Greatest Love is available on 4 albums, 4 cassettes, and 4 compact discs. Over 4 hours of classic love songs with Dionne Warwick, Billy Ocean, and Air Supply. Relive a special memory or share with a friend the magic of The Greatest Love with George Benson, Buddy Holly, and Spandau Ballet. If you've ever been in love, order The Greatest Love by phoning your local number now. This offer comes with full money-back guarantee. Please allow up to 21 days for delivery. And remember, this special collection is not available in any shops.
Why just you and I, no true love, why?
Well, Stephen Hendry, who will be breaking in this 4th frame, really the dominant force in this foursome at the moment. He has contributed 208 points. Allison Fisher has come up with 90. I'm afraid Steve Davis and Stacey Hillyard very much the junior partners. Davis 18, Hillyard just 17 points. But Steve Davis, the difference between, Stephen Hendry, the difference between the 2 partnerships. And it could so easily have been a 3-0 lead to his team, but for Allison Fisher's clearance of 42 in the 2nd frame. So it's only 2-1. This final's still wide open, but I think a lot depends on Steve Davis finding some form, as again he fails to put down a red. Davis really does need to establish some rhythm to give his combination a chance.
That's right, Davis has done very little in this match. Of course, Hendry has made breaks of 84 and 48 in the 2 frames that his side's won, so he's done his fair share of the work. Steve having one of the most lean spells of his career, in fact. He hasn't won a ranking title since the Rothmans Grand Prix of 1989. Although in the spring of this year, he suggested an imminent return to form by winning the Benson Hedges Irish Masters, the Continental Airlines London Masters and the European Masters League, so maybe Davis is on the road back. No one was more successful, of course, in the 1980s than Steve Davis. He won the UK Open 6 times, 4 times on the trot at one point. He also won the World Championship 6 times and has won 57 major titles in all, an unparalleled record.
And of course, it's so much harder for any one player to stay at the top nowadays, as Stephen Hendry is finding, with John Parrott in particular very much snapping at his heels now.
Yes, and of course there are many, many hundreds of young players very eager and hungry for success. Some players not yet really known, but very good potential. 15-year-old Ronnie O'Sullivan, who won the World Junior Championship, is one to follow, and Peter Ebdon likewise. So, Hillyard with the first scoring chance in this frame. In Wednesday's semi-final against Jimmy White in Cairncourt, Hillyard played a part. She made breaks of 34 in 42.
And there may be opportunities for her here to put together a reasonable contribution as well. She has yet to make a break of any significance, just 8 in the second frame. She, like Steve Davis, is struggling a little bit at this stage.
Hillyard was the first woman to make a century break in competition in the Bournemouth League in 1985. And earlier this year she made a 130 break. That was in a tournament at Mansfield, so she's quite capable of putting together the big breaks.
No shortage of confidence, it seems, from Stacey Hillyard. After that, red into the bottom left-hand pocket.
But the yellow overcut there from the spot. And Allison Fisher has a chance to repeat her feat of the second frame when she cleared up with a 42 to win that frame on the black. Talking of breaks, Allison Fisher made a World Championship record break this season against the Australian Fran Lovis. She made the break of 104 in the last 16. First century ever made in the Women's World Championship. Taking on the long blue, slightly overcutting it. Obviously, the red on the top of these 4 in the pack goes. Hendry, another chance to make a good break.
1.
Although the blue hanging around down there at the bottom of the table isn't going to help. It's a little bit crowded down there.
Certainly Hendry would prefer the blue on its spot, but at least the black is unimpeded. And that's the colour I'm sure he'll ohm in now.
No room there for the pink on its spot. Any significance in the pink now being placed on the blue spot?
Well, it could be slightly to Hendry's advantage, in the respect that should he have to take the cue ball up the table, the pink will be available for him. Well controlled screwback shot there from Hendry. Will now 50. Pop the black nearest, the red nearest the black.
16.
And a half chance has turned into a very promising situation for the young Scot. Hendry won 9 titles last year and 646,600 in prize money.
Picture of concentration there as he puts that black down.
23.
So Hendry with a lot of good prospects here in this frame.
24.
He's made quite a sizable break already. The lead now 32 in this frame, and you get the feeling there's a few more to come yet before Mr. Hendry's through.
Hendry at times complains of lack of concentration, but when you can win 36 consecutive matches in ranking events as Hendry did last season, there's no problem with concentration in my book.
32.
Again, a routine screw back off the black, off the side cushion.
39.
There's Stacey Hillyard watching intently. Good recovery shot there from Hendry. It's betwixt and between on those two reds. Decided to take the red into the middle, and it's worked out perfectly for him.
The lead now 54 points.
46.
The break, as the referee Alan Chamberlain just told us, 46.
It's his third break over 40 in this match. During the Rothmans Grand Prix earlier this season, a title he won, Hendry made a 30 break in 18 successive frames.
53.
Well, barring something extraordinary, it looks as if the Hendry Hillyard partnership are going to take a 2-frame lead, which, of course, over 9 frames, really a very significant lead indeed.
Yes, that red before the black
61.
Put Davis and Fisher at the snooker's required stage. And with Hendry still in prime position, it appears very likely
62.
that the score will be 3-1. Dropping the black into the top pocket. Mission accomplished by dislodging the red from the side cushion also.
69.
Pink obscuring the red to the top right-hand pocket. Hendry attempts a very difficult
Hendry and Hillyard.
Plant.
69.
But the break stops at 69. Hendry and Hillyard lead by 78 points to 1. And barring a miracle, they will take a 3-1 lead. Davis decides to concede.
Frame, Hendry and Hillyard.
That's the frame over. Hendry and Hillyard win it 78 points to 1. And they take a 3-1 lead.
So, an important lead.
Every week, Go gives us gallons of glorious motorsport mayhem. 4-star fun from right around the world. Treacherous tracks, slippery slopes. Go goes wherever the wheels are spinning. Don't miss Go this evening at 6 on Screen Sport. Faldo, Langer and Woosnam spearhead the European assault on the Sun City $1 Million Classic. Calcavecchia, Daly and Couples lead the American Challenge. Our same-day coverage of the final round is this afternoon at 3 here on Screen Sport.
Rotterdamse kiezen voor Feyenoord en voor Sportnet.
Star Direct brings you the very best of Mark Bolan and T-Rex on all the hits and more, so be ready to order by phone. For the first time ever, 50 tracks on the definitive Bolan collection. Classic album tracks plus all the hits that made Mark Bolan a megastar, including the #1s Metal Guru, Get It On and Telegram Sam. All the hits and more available on 3 albums, 3 cassettes or 3 compact discs, including Children of the Revolution. Relive the memory and music of Mark Bolan, the original 20th century boy. This unique collection is not available in record stores, so order your copy by phoning your local number now. This special Mark Bolan offer comes with a full money-back guarantee, and please allow up to 21 days for delivery.
Steve Davis, when is he going to make a contribution? Trailing 3-1 now, and you have to feel some sympathy for Steve. He hasn't had too many opportunities, but this really a situation made for him, and he's not the kind of guy that's ever going to get rattled, or at least he's not going to let it show, is he? He looks perfectly relaxed there as he's just refreshing himself between frames.
Yes, he's a great fighter, Steve, but the sands of time are running out for him. Of course, should Hendry and Hillyard win the next 2 frames, they'll be crowned World Mixed Doubles champions. So time is of the essence for the Davis and Fisher partnership.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
And the 5th frame will certainly take on added importance.
Frame 5, Davis and Fisher to break.
So there's the trophy that they're playing for, plus prize money of £15,000 to be shared by the winners. And there's Allison Fisher's lucky mascot, just slightly obscured by the chair. Where Steve Davis has been playing. I wonder if Allison's been tempted to trade in a partner and give the mascot a chance at the table. It's really been very disappointing for Davis. And it's Davis that gets the 5th frame underway. And here's Stacey Hillyard.
At least a good break from Davis there, placing Hillyard under immediate pressure. Forcing Hillyard to leave Fisher a middle range red, which I'm sure she'll attempt. There we see a perfect front view of Allison Fisher's very orthodox and very effective cue action, although not very effective on that instance.
Very little has gone right for this partnership. Brave smile from Allison, but in truth, there's not been much for that combination to smile about. Phil Yates is pre-tournament favourites, but looking anything but favourites at the moment.
Yes, it's a good thing that there's no bookmakers in Hamburg. I could have lost my wages on this match. I fancied Davis and Fisher heavily, but now it appears that Hendry and Hillyard will take the mixed doubles title, unless, of course, Fisher and Davis produce a tremendous fight back.
It's not beyond them, of course, but they've got to do to Hendry what Hendry and Hillyard have been doing to Davis, and that's basically keeping him out of scoring opportunities. Because whenever Hendry comes to the table, you get the feeling that he's capable of doing something.
Superb shot there from Hendry. Powered the cue ball into the cup, split them far and wide, and I think he's had the good fortune to drop on a nice straight red here, and just a simple stun shot, and he's perfectly in position on the black.
Well, unless he suffers from a lapse of concentration, and there it was, a lapse of concentration.
Hendry and Hillyard.
All the hard work. But a little rush of blood to the head there from Stephen Hendry, and now an excellent opportunity here for the very quiet so far Steve Davis.
This is the kind of chance that Davis needed to get his cueing going again after being frozen out for much of this match.
8.
In last year's British Open, I remember Steve was 4-1 down to Darren Morgan in an early round. Morgan made 2 century breaks in that match, and Davis looked dead and buried, and slowly but surely he got the cue on going and came back into the match, and eventually won that match 5-4. So certainly if he can pull back from 4-1 down, a 3-1 deficit shouldn't present too many problems.
$16. $70.
The break only a modest 24, but it's the highest Davis has made 24. In this match so far.
That's Davis's previous best, a mere 8.
25.
Which does give you an indication of the extent of his inactivity here in this World Mixed Doubles Championship final so far. But making up for a bit of lost time here, Steve Davis.
In fairness to Steve, he hasn't been presented with 32. The number of opportunities that has been presented to Hendry, but even so, what little chance he has had, he hasn't made much of.
33.
Cleverly stunning in between those two reds.
40.
The position looking very bright indeed for Davis and Fisher in this frame.
41.
That's the 6th red in this break, and this should be the 6th black. Hillyard and Hendry unable to do anything about this. All they can do is sit and watch and hope that Davis makes a mistake, which
49.
frankly at the moment he doesn't look like doing.
And I'm sure Stephen Hendry reflecting on the unnecessary opportunity that he presented to Steve Davis at the beginning of this break, because there was nothing
56.
difficult about that red that Hendry missed quite badly at all.
57.
Yes, he hadn't got a full pocket to aim at. The red that the red he intended made contact with. Okay, he hadn't got a full pocket, but I'm sure he should have potted that one.
64.
Made to pay to the full for his mistake.
$65.
54 the difference before this blue. No, it's 59. And with 59 on the table, Davis just needs one more red to virtually secure this frame and reduce his sides deficit to one frame at 3-2.
71.
That should just about do it.
78.
Break 78, the lead 67. And another red 79. Bites the dust. Well, this will do Steve Davis a power of good when you consider how outplayed they've been for much of this match. They're going to be trailing just 3-2 after 5 frames.
Well, the break reaches 86, despite a slight kick on 86. The black there. That's the highest break of the tournament so far, and the next landmark could be the first century of the event.
$87.
Davis made a valiant attempt there to remove the awkward red from the side cushion. Made contact with it, but hasn't really removed it from its awkward position. Would need another excellent positional shot here to continue the break.
But this already the biggest break of the tournament, eclipsing Stephen Hendry's break of 84 in the first frame of this final. And he had no luck there at all.
89.
Yes, he attempted to just manoeuvre the white past the green. Made contact with the green, unfortunately, and now he's got to try a very difficult double. Could be in the middle. Oh, bad luck, Steve. It's a great break. 89, and the concession arrives. So Steve Davis and Allison Fisher now trail 3 frames to 2.
So, Steve Davis with his first significant contribution of this World Mixed Doubles Championship final brings his partnership right back into the match. It's 3-2 to Hendry and Hillyard. We'll be back in just a moment for the start of frame 6.
Sport pulls no punches with a feast of international championship Thai boxing. 5 fights, 5 titles to be won. The very best European Thai boxers are in action in Super Fight Night, and we'll have exclusive coverage. So put your best foot forward and join us tonight at 7:30 on Screen Sport. Our next big NBA game sees the Indiana Pacers traveling to Motown to do battle with the Detroit Pistons. Tonight at 11:30 on Screen Sport.
Die Weihnachtszeit ist wieder angebrochen und wer von Ihnen weiß schon so ganz genau, was er verschenken soll? Ich möchte Ihnen dazu heute einige Anregungen geben. Das Leben ist voller Überraschungen und manche Ereignisse möchte man gerne festhalten. Wenn Sie erst einmal mit dem Camcorder von Samsung auf Motivsuche gehen, werden Sie feststellen, wie viel Spaß es macht, bewegte Bilder festzuhalten. Oder überraschen Sie Ihre Lieben mit einem Videorekorder von Samsung. Die hervorragende Bildqualität durch 4 Videoköpfe wird nur noch übertroffen vom Bedienkomfort. Per Fernbedienung können Sie alle Programmierungen festlegen und mit einem Knopfdruck starten. Na, wäre das nichts für Sie? Aber ich habe noch andere Vorschläge. Warum nicht einmal Nostalgiespielzeug für Sammler und Liebhaber verschenken? Versetzen Sie sich zurück in die Vergangenheit mit dem fantastisch schönen Spielzeug von Vilesco. Lassen Sie sich verzaubern von längst vergangenen Zeiten und für einen Moment aus dem Alltag entführen. Ob jung oder alt, Vilesco-Spielzeug begeistert jeden. Sie können dieses wunderschöne Spielzeug für Ihre Lieben über den Fachhandel beziehen. So, haben Ihnen diese Vorschläge schon Spaß gemacht? Dann habe ich noch etwas ganz Besonderes für Sie. Verwöhnen Sie sich und Ihre Familie zum Weihnachtsfest mit dem hervorragenden Bier der Privatbrauerei Bärenbräu aus Herborn. Was wäre besser zu Ihrem Festtagsbraten als ein schönes, kühles, frisches Bier? Und warum nicht einmal Bier verschenken? Entspannen Sie sich gemütlich und lassen Sie die Ruhe und den Frieden des Weihnachtsfestes auf sich wirken. Ich hoffe, ich konnte Sie ein bisschen neugierig machen und wünsche Ihnen ein schönes Weihnachtsfest.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. 3 frames
level
each.
the match, 3-all.
Davis and Fisher to break.
As Alan Chamberlain formally gets the 7th frame underway, and this probably now the most important frame in the match, Phil.
Certainly up to this point, yes. And of course, Alison Fisher is proving
Thank
that
you, ladies
old
and
saying that behind every man, behind every successful man, there's a good woman. She certainly played very well this evening, as she did in the semi-final last night. Made a 42 clearance to the black, of course, in the second frame, and it took blue to black there to level the match again in 3 frames all. Not quite as much help from Hillyard on the Hendry-Hillyard partnership. She's scored just 26 points in 6 frames. Stephen Hendry has scored 347.
Stacey's defence, of course, it has to be said that she hasn't had that many opportunities to do a lot either. It's been a very frustrating evening too for Stacey, who hasn't contributed a single point in the last 2 frames.
Fisher has produced the goods at the end of the frames, but her long potting at the start of them has left a lot to be desired on a number of occasions. And in virtually every frame, she's presented Hendry with a chance. One of the pots of the match there from Hendry. And immediately, another good chance to establish a lead.
Eight. 9.
Stephen Hendry has made 3 half-centuries in this match already. Very much the dominant force. His highest was an 84 in the first
60.
frame.
To 70.
A soft stun up the table there for the pink.
$23. $24.
Hendry has looked very solid in the balls tonight. The only major mistake came in the 5th frame when, having split the reds far and wide off a blue, he missed a relatively easy red, and Steve Davis stepped in to make an 89.
31.
But one of Hendry's great qualities is his ability to respond to a crisis, and that's certainly the situation
32.
here. They were 3-1 in front his side. Suddenly Davis and Fisher back to 3 each. Delicate pot on the blue into the middle there. No doubt here he'll be attempting to get an angle back on the blue where he can split the reds.
38.
And that seems fine. No problems there.
$43.
Another red splitter there from Stephen Hendry. I wonder if he's going to make the same mistake that he made last time in this situation. No mistake
44.
there. The break goes on to 44. And so important this frame, of course. Stephen Hendry's just grabbed it by the scruff of the neck and so far showing no signs of letting it go.
Yeah, should this scoring continue, Hendry will take a 1-frame lead with 2 frames left to play. 51. And all the pressure then, of course, will be placed on the shoulders of Fisher and Davis once again.
52.
Very good effort there from Hendry. 52 already, no sign of a break. A relentless point scorer.
59.
When in the groove. That's what he's been tonight.
60.
$67. The break. One more red needed.
67.
To leave Davis and Fisher requiring snookers. This blue will take the break to 73. And 67 points still left on the table, so a possible 140 clearance here from Hendry.
74.
Excellent shot from Hendry. Difficult cueing with the middle pocket impeding him there. And of course the side cushion.
$81.
Dislodges the red. Could this be the first century of the competition?
$82.
Made an awkward shot with the rest look easy. Back perfectly on the black.
$89.
So Stephen Hendry, the king of the century breaks, could be adding another one to his impressive tally.
I should add at this stage, Phil, that there is a prize for the leading break in the tournament. A night on the Reaper Bar with you and me.
His second prize, 2 nights.
Maybe that's why everyone's been trying to chuck it when they've been getting in the 80s. It looks like Hendry well on his way here. This is already the most substantial break of the tournament, and a colour will give him the century.
There goes the blue. The break, 103, and Hendry's still in perfect position.
106.
Well, this is the best possible response to that 2-frame burst from Davis and Fisher. Pink back on its spots, and it would take a brave man to bet against Hendry, making a 137 total clearance in this frame.
112. $150.
Hendry has taken 15 reds, 15 colours, yellow and green. Now just 3 pots away from a total clearance. Tremendous effort.
124.
Slightly overscrewed from blue to pink. Forced to go around the angles.
130.
And position on the black, not attained. An absolutely unbelievable attempt to put the black in there. Stopped just short, but never mind. A 130 break from Hendry, and his pair take a 4-3 lead.
And that certainly got this crowd here at Green's Leisure Club in Hamburg stamping their feet in approval. The first 100 break of this tournament. The crowd loved it. They really do know their snooker here in Germany. Snooker is such a big growth sport here in this country. And more significantly, Stephen Hendry making an absolute nonsense of what could have been such a tense and close frame, that 7th frame. Well, I wonder if it will prove decisive, but Stephen Hendry left it in no doubt with a superb break. And that, I think, evidence of Hendry at his very best.
Certainly is. That I said earlier on in the frame that one of Hendry's great strengths is his ability to respond to a crisis, and that's exactly what he did there.
So, Stephen Hendry and his partner Stacey Hillyard, who really has been overshadowed by Hendry's heroics in this final, now need just 1 frame for victory in the World Mixed Doubles Championship. Davis and Fisher have trailed before in this frame. Don't write them off yet. In fact, Davis and Fisher have yet to take any lead at all in this final. But as Hendry gets ready to get us off in this 8th frame, it's Stephen Hendry and Stacey Hillyard looking for this frame for victory.
Hendry has scored 477 points in this final to Hillyard's 26.
It's worth mentioning also that Stephen Hendry has almost doubled the score of the 3 other players put together.
Yes, but this man at the table at the moment, Steve Davis, won't give up without a fight, that's for certain. Steve, of course, was the victim of one of the snooker's most renowned comebacks, when Dennis Taylor came back from 8-0 down against him in the World Final to win 18-17. But Steve has produced his own fightbacks in the past, and winning 2 frames on the trot, of course, in partnership with Fisher, is certainly not beyond him.
10. $11.
Davis obviously keen not to be outstaged by Hendry.
19.
Showing that anything you can do, I can do better. Cleverly stuns the cue ball between the 2 reds there. And suddenly
27.
this match has come to life. A tremendous standard being produced by the 2 men. And of course, Fisher's made a good contribution to the game also. She made a 42 clearance in the 2nd frame and took the blue to black in the 6th.
34. 35.
Not the best of contacts there between red and cue ball, but Davis elects to continue the break without asking referee Alan Chamberlain to wipe it.
$42.
42 the break. Davis
43.
slowly moving towards the winning line in this frame. Then we'll have a sudden death deciding frame.
$50. $51.
Perfect angle on the blue. Again, stunning down the table towards the reds. And no sign here of this break coming to an end.
$56.
Well, it's worth pointing out that certainly as far as the prize money is concerned for the men, it's fairly small beer, this tournament, but we've seen plenty of evidence that both these players are taking this tournament very seriously indeed, aren't they? A real tribute to their professionalism.
Great champions, relish winning no matter what. Hendry and Davis have amassed enough prize money
64.
in the past few years to be financially secure, but still they go in search of titles.
65.
Like the great champions in all other sports, golf, tennis, you name it, these people have got tremendous pride in their own performance.
70.
Well, it looks as if we could be going into the deciding frame. Steve's break now 71, and he's managed to separate those four reds. Fairly straightforward colour for him here, and he has repaid Stephen Hendry back in kind and in some style.
$76, but the kiss on the pink, not what Steve intended. Back-to-back centuries were beginning to look a distinct possibility there, but the positional aspect of that shot went astray. Now realising the game is in the bag, Steve attempting a plant double into the top right-hand pocket. Valiant effort, but the red made contact with the black. Never mind. That puts the frame beyond the reach of Hendry and Hillyard.
George Foreman, the return of the punch-in preacher. See it first on the #1 channel for boxing, Screen Sport.
Australia rule the world.
Be our guests at next year's Belgian Grand Prix. Come and see Chris Eubank in action. Improve your game with a free 4-day course. Let us buy you 10 pairs of your favourite trainers. Watch and win with Screen Sport's Best Moments in 91 coming soon.
Star Direct invites you to share the greatest love. Be ready to order by phone.
Everywhere I look around.
The greatest classic love songs, the greatest love. The definitive collection of romantic hits, including the Thompson Twins, Eurythmics, Aretha Franklin, Elton John, and Al Green. This brilliant collection will bring back very special memories with the most popular love songs ever written, including Nilsson and Leo Sayer. 64 unforgettable tracks. The greatest love is available on 4 albums, 4 cassettes, and 4 compact discs. Over 4 hours of classic love songs with Dionne Warwick, Billy Ocean, and Air Supply. Relive a special memory or share with a friend the magic of the greatest love with George Benson, Buddy Holly, and Spandau Ballet. If you've ever been in love, order the greatest love by phoning your local number now. This offer comes with full money-back guarantee. Please allow up to 21 days for delivery. And remember, this special collection is not available in any shops.
Why just you and I, no true love, why?
Teams, of course. Stephen Hendry just chatting to Steve Davis and Allison Fisher there. And despite the tension, finding time for a joke and a smile. And this one is a long but utterly absorbing contest. The crowd here absolutely enthralled by it. And
Thank
they
you,
deserve,
ladies and gentlemen. This is the
they
final
deserve a
and
good
deciding
tournament.
frame.
They've been a very good crowd and have really appreciated seeing the best 4 men and the best 4 women in the world. Well, almost like a boxing match as they come out for the final round, and fighters touching gloves, a handshake there, a mark of mutual respect, and it's all down to this 9th frame, which Steve Davis gets underway.
Yes, the only certain winner here, of course, is the game of snooker. This tournament, taken to Germany for the first time, it's been a tremendous success, and I'm sure the good people of Hamburg will remember it for a long time. Hillyard set an immediate problem. Played a defensive safety shot there. Left Fisher the chance to run back to safety and put Stephen Hendry in trouble, or even take on this long red. Caught in two minds, and Fisher decides that discretion is the better part of valor here. Well, she may have been better advised to take the red on. She plays safe, but has left Hendry with a possibility of a long red. And I'm sure he'll stun. If he pots this, he'll stun it in and land perfectly on the black. Well, first chance to Hendry. First chance missed.
And of course, you won't be able to afford too many of those. It's all down to this one frame. There's no coming back from this one if it slips away. As Steve Davis assesses the situation. A master of this kind of situation, of course. That went for a very ambitious red indeed. Now then, has he left Stacey with an opportunity?
Steve, of course, knows that he can chance his arm on the odd occasion. Hillyard scored just 26 points in 8 frames. And she follows Steve, so he knows he can possibly go for a few shots that he wouldn't normally do.
Well, nothing going right for Stacey Hillyard tonight.
Well, Fisher won the second frame for the Davis-Fisher partnership with a 42 clearance to black. She won the 6th frame by taking blue to black. Can she make a good start for her side in this deciding frame? Very crisp stun run-through shot there from Fisher. Lands perfectly on the black. I'm sure her nerves will be jangling at the moment. Nothing wrong with that either.
8.
Remember, £15,000 at stake for the winners of this event.
9.
The runners-up will have to settle for a share of £9,000.
And they'll have both earned it, these teams. This really has been an excellent final to what I hope will become a regular tournament.
Well, I'm sure it will. This first inaugural event has been
16.
a great success. Funnily enough, an event covered by Screen Sport earlier on in the season, the World Seniors Championship, also went to a deciding frame where Cliff Wilson, the veteran Welshman, beat Eddie Charlton.
17.
Well, Fisher making a very good start. 17 points on the ball already. Blue of virtual formality. And with red over that bulk pocket as insurance.
$22.
Again, refusing the easy red over the bulk pocket. Screwing up the table off the right-hand side cushion for the blue.
23.
Another well-controlled shot. Fisher exhibiting
28.
tremendous bottle under pressure. Not used to playing for such high sums of money, of course, the ladies. Only once a year at the Women's World Championship that they normally play for four-figure checks. So this effort, very commendable indeed.
29.
Fisher takes a deep breath there as the break approaches the 30 mark. Black for 36.
And she hasn't put a foot wrong so far as the break reaches 36. This a vital contribution
36.
from Allison Fisher at just the right time.
Yes, slightly overscrewed for the red that she wanted to pot by the pink, but of course she's left with this red over the bulk pocket that she's been leaving as a contingency.
37.
Allison's best break of this match so far, 42. She's currently at 37. We're looking to add to that here.
Screws perfectly off the brown for the red by the pink. This is looking very good indeed
41.
for Davis and Fisher. And what a tremendous advert for the women's game.
And I'm sure that Steve Davis, who's been such a great ambassador for snooker over the years, will be quite happy just to sit there and let Allison Fisher take the glory and finish this one off if she can.
On a number of occasions during this tournament, Davis has applauded the achievements of Fisher, and I'm sure he'll do the same after this break finishes. The break
49.
stops at 49. Fisher, it seems, is certain to play safe into bulk.
Davis and Fisher.
But a
49.
fantastic effort from the ladies' world champion. Even Stephen Hendry, who's seen it all, is moved to applaud her.
And this, a very serious moment for the Hendry-Hillyard partnership, trailing by 49 points. They really are now on the edge of the precipice.
Davis has a very similar red here to the one he knocked in to start that 76 break in the last frame.
1.
Well, could Steve Davis and Allison Fisher be on the point of repeating their triumph at the World Masters when they won the mixed doubles title there? 53 points the lead.
4.
Davis won't be too happy with that one. He attempted to screw down the table for the red at the bottom of your picture. Plenty of points still available for Hendry and Hillyard to mount a comeback. Davis working out every available option.
Davis and Fisher, 4.
Trying to avoid knocking the red towards the pocket. And Hillyard, of course, who scored just 26 points in this match. Back at the table. Well, considering their lack of inactivity, that's a fine pot from Hillyard.
But of course, the hard stuff starts now for Stacey. That is not enough by any means. She's got to put together a break of her own here. And that's
Hendry and
quite
Hillyard.
simply disastrous.
Davis and Fisher, 53.
And she knows it.
Hendry and Hillyard, 1.
Yes, Stacey won't look back at this match with very good memories of it. But this girl certainly will. Allison Fisher, 49 break with a first visit on her first visit to the table in this frame. And she's away again.
1.
Fisher opened her partnership's winning account in the second frame with a 42 clearance. In the sixth, she won on the black. She's done her fair share of the work in this match.
8.
Won't be too pleased with that black. She's not come far enough down the table to leave herself on the straight red she intended. Still has the opportunity of a pot. Hendry and Hillyard now at the snooker's required stage. And
9.
Fisher and Davis looking red-hot favourites to capture the title.
You have to feel some sympathy for this woman, Stacey Hillyard. It's been a disappointing final for her, but she acquitted herself very well in the semi-final, of course, but this, as you say, Phil, not a good advertisement for her. She can play a lot better than this.
Yes, it's usually the case that one person at least of the 4 in a doubles match is frozen out, and on this occasion it's been poor Stacey Hillyard.
No freezing Allison Fisher out of this frame.
12.
Break of 49, another 12 added. And for me it's appropriate. I know it's slightly early days yet, there's still a little way to go, but it would be appropriate if Allison Fisher could put this frame beyond the reach of Hillyard and Hendry and win this match for her partnership.
Yes, Fisher has done 2 very important things in this frame. Firstly, of course, it appears she secured the World Mixed Doubles title for herself and Steve Davis. And secondly, and perhaps more importantly than that, she's shown that women snooker players can play under pressure.
19.
Many highly ranked men professionals would have been proud of this performance from Fisher.
20.
.73 won the score, 43 on the table, so it's now virtually certain that Fisher and Davis will win this £15,000 first prize. Fisher misses the king, but Hendry throws in the towel. Davis and Fisher, world mixed doubles champions.
Well, so Allison finishes with a miss. but it was the only foot she put wrong in that decisive 5th frame. And the towel, appropriately enough, coming in from Stephen Hendry. But congratulations to all 4 players. A marvellous final. And really a superb advertisement for mixed doubles snooker. I hope we see this kind of tournament more often here on Screen Sport. And you can hear the Hamburg crowd's reaction. They loved it. And I'm sure they'd all be delighted if we were back here in a year's time for the 2nd World Mixed Doubles Championship. Commiserations to that team, of course, Stephen Hendry and Stacey Hillyard. But tonight belongs to Steve Davis and in particular Allison Fisher, who really rose to the occasion on more than one occasion, and significantly in that last frame when she really grabbed it with that 49 break that more or less determined the outcome of the contest. So the £15,000 first prize goes to Steve Davis and Allison Fisher, and in a moment we'll have the formal presentations. Gerhard Müller going through the formalities here. Allison looking delighted, as well she might. As Phil Yates so correctly pointed out, Allison Fisher, an excellent advertisement for women's snooker. I don't think she quite understood what was said there, but
Meine Damen und Herren, die Entscheidung ist gefallen. Ich glaube, zuerst bedanken wir uns bei den Zweitplatzierten.
That's the one thing I'll remember from this match, certainly.
Stephen Hendry.
So the Hendry-Hillyard partnership come up to receive commiserations and a loser's cheque of £7,500. So they won't be too downhearted. £9,000 in fact. And this crowd, they really have taken to these players. You saw the foot stamping there, actually wobbling one of our camera positions, but this is the moment when I think the roof might come off Green's Leisure Club. The presentation to the 1991 World Mixed Doubles Champions, Steve Davis and Allison Fisher. I'm not going to try and talk over the applause. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely deafening. So it's our congratulations to Steve Davis and Allison Fisher. We've loved it. I'm sure everybody in Hamburg has loved it as well. You can tell by their reaction that they really have enjoyed seeing snooker at its very best. The 4 best men's players in the world and, of course, the 4 best women really have put on quite a show here in Hamburg over the last 3 days, culminating in a thrilling 5-4 victory in the final for Allison Fisher and Steve Davis. Our congratulations to them as they go up to be photographed. Quite a good press gathering here. It really has generated a lot of local interest and interest back home as well. And I'm sure it's a tournament that we'll see more of in the future. Some final thoughts from you, Phil? The right team won, I'm sure.
Yes, very much so. I predicted it before the start, and that's the outcome. Very pleased indeed.
So, our congratulations to Allison and Steve from Phil and me, Nick Halling. Thanks very much for being with us. We've enjoyed bringing it to you. I hope you've enjoyed it too. And from all of us here at Hamburg, a very good night to you.